Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. As always, this is your captain, Randy Wright speaking, and I'd like to take this opportunity to personally thank you for choosing to fly the friendly airwaves with us here on our state-of-the-art radio program at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer. Well, folks, without further ado, let's go ahead and delve into the topic for today's program. Now, I don't know about you guys, but back when I was in college, Tech TV, which then became G4 TV, was a pretty big deal. For me, it was a way to blow off steam because I'd already decided at that point in time that I wanted to go to law school, and so I spent most of my time with my nose in the books, studying, because I knew that that was what was both necessary and proper for me to be able to get into law school, and so it was what I had to spend my time on. But at the same time, I knew then that I had to have, light hobbies that could keep my mind off of studies at times because I didn't want to get overwhelmed. And anyway, that's what G4 TV with X Play and Attack of the Show with Olivia Munn and with Morgan Webb on X Play and Adam Sessler was all about. And back then, when they were on general television or general cable, they really weren't that political. I mean, yes, you could catch some of the bents, at least of some of the hosts, but they really didn't expose their political views because that would have been not so beneficial for them. It would have alienated audience members. And I always am reminded of what Michael Jordan used to say back in the 90s when he was selling his Air Jordans when asked why he wouldn't discuss politics. And his response was, Republicans buy shoes too. Because if you think about it, the NBA is, many of them are left wing. I mean, LeBron James comes to mind with respect to that. And the toxic type of hyper politicization that has happened in these fields is showing a reckless disregard for certain political views and the ability for people to be free to think or feel or have whatever views or beliefs they want. And that to me is actually problematic from just a practical standpoint because it shows that businesses throughout this country and indeed throughout the world are becoming more political. They're becoming more involved in identity politics and in these toxic approaches, which I think is not beneficial to anyone. And I don't think that it really serves their purposes or their messages. But again, there is this message. There is this political message, and it's going right back to what the Frankfurt School, that college of thought in the interwar periods, came up with cultural Marxism. They realized that Marxism, based on class struggle, as it was set out in Das Kapital by Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx, wasn't working. That there had to be modifiers for communism to be accepted. And that was true with Leninism, with his quote of work and bread and property. Under true communism, you don't have property, not private property. Everything belongs to the state. And the countries that were adopting communism were not of the type that fit the dialectic. It was not the linear progressive vision that Karl Marx had predicted in his magnum opus. And so that was leading to consternation for these socialists and the communists that wanted to establish a new world order, for want of a better term, in the interwar years. And so what they proposed was that, well, we need to make the divisions be based on class, other than class, it needs to be on race, on identity, on certain cultural aspects, so that we break down the cohesive unity that existed and the patriotic pride that the middle classes, the emerging middle classes, felt, so that there wouldn't be a connection with this this sort of petty bourgeois type of existence and identity that these cultures had created. And so they created cultural Marxism. That was later, of course, doubled down with the attempts in Harvard with critical race theory, with these various other cultural Marxist ideologies and schools of thought that is just polluting everything. And that's all by design. It's all by design because their purpose is to rewrite society, to fundamentally redefine society, and to change those fundamental elements through which we feel connected with society and thereby connected with one another. But I can already hear some of you asking, well, Randy, why are we talking about X-Play and cultural Marxism? What's the connection? Well, like I said, when I was in college, X-Play and G4 TV and all of that was fun. It was humorous. It was a way to blow off steam, but identity politics has come into the mix. And when I heard that G4 TV was basically coming back and forming a YouTube channel after they had gone off the air from TV back in 2013, I was initially excited until I saw that this is the sort of thing that they started giving us. And this is the type of cultural Marxism that was developed by the Frankfurt School. And so here we go. It's shocking.
But I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online. Sexism in gaming.
Right there from the very get-go, you can see that there is a narrative that they are pushing. And this narrative is all about identity politics and cultural Marxism being interjected into things like video games. And of course, this isn't new. We've seen this going back to so-called Gamergate, what these journalists won't let go of, and Sarkeesian and all of that nonsense that took place. And this is just doubling down on that same type of wretched ideology. And so here it is, instead of talking about games, they're talking about sexism in games.
In joining G4...
This is not where I thought we were going.
And notice there's the shill. There's the fill-in for the average American citizen. Of course, this is a leftist cock. He used to be friends with the rageaholic Razor Fist, but we can see now that basically he's playing the part of a shill.
I had no idea.
I'm listening. Yeah.
In joining G4, I was ecstatic to be part of something that I grew up watching as a child. But every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us. I can see you. Without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous host.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? And you see, if you're going to be complaining about your looks, well, first of all, you've done this to yourself. That blurry neck tattoo, that bull ring nose ring, that look at me, I need attention 12-year-old boy haircut. What the hell? That's not attractive. And you can already tell, ladies and gentlemen, where this one's going to be going. Because whenever they start lambasting their audience, whenever they start attacking their audience, it's always from this critical identity politics type of nonsense. And you'll see.
It's somehow...
Talk to him, Frost!
It has somehow been expected that you can talk about how much you jerked off to women as a compliment. It's not a compliment.
It's weird.
It's dehumanizing and it's weird. Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you. Morgan Webb...
Wrong. That's just incredibly wrong. And Az from Hill versus Babyface basically said the same thing. No, in television and in entertainment, everybody's about being eye candy. Because who wants to see ugly people? Well, the leftists want to force that on us, of course. But That's just par for the course.
Olivia Munn did not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
Hey, she cooking, y'all.
And that's
No, she's
just
not.
obvious sexism. You don't need to explicitly objectify women or declare that you hate women to be sexist.
In other words, we're going to collectivize you and dehumanize you. You know, here she was complaining and whinging about being dehumanized, and yet she proceeds to dehumanize members of her audience.
Just go ahead and check out Thorne's latest meltdown on Twitter for some spark notes. Now, here at XPlay, our reviews are written and produced by a team of people.
It takes a village to raise a child. How pathetic is this when there are so many out there, Razor Fist, Geeks and Gamers, all of these various review channels where it's a one-person team doing it, that they don't need a collectivized effort. But here's G4 TV telling you that identity politics matters more. It's about the message, as the critical drinker would say.
There are too many games for one person to shoulder the burden. So we divide and conquer. And when we use language like we,
Divide and conquer. Notice the Freudian slips, the buzzwords that are coming out here.
or I, that's the reviewer. That's coming from the mouth and experience of the reviewer reading that review. And that's not to say that Gerard, TBH, Adam, or myself don't contribute to the reviews. We absolutely do. But it'll always be in varying degrees and take a whole team behind us. That's why we're XPlay and not Adam Play. We have done the experiment and controlled for the variables. Adam will read a script written by the same writer that I will read the other half of the script for, but I'll be the one flamed. And yeah, it also happens to Gerard and TBH, but that doesn't discount the sexism of how it happens to me when it does. Both things can be true, that there is a general hatred of any change that isn't Adam, and that I'll receive special flame just for being a woman.
And there you have it. That's what it's about. That's what it boils down to. Each and every time. That's what it's boiling down to. Essentially, it's this little complaint. Give me an ever-loving break. This type of crap needs to come to an end. And essentially, this is what's happening in pop culture all over the United States. And we can't ignore this anymore because it's infecting everything like a cancer. It is metastasizing in the body politique of our republic. And this is how they've managed to get it to where we are more complacent, more willing to accept authoritarianism. Well, enough is enough. This is not what we need. This is not what a healthy society needs. And, you know, G4 TV is being deadpanned for this. Rightly so. If this is the type of nonsense that they're going to peddle, then they deserve all of the derision that is coming their way. So don't buy into G4 TV, ladies and gentlemen. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the time if this is the nonsense they're going to be peddling. With that, I want to thank you all for choosing to fly the friendly airwaves with us. I hope to see you again next time that we fly these friendly airwaves. Please do take care.